Hello teachers, this video is going to give you some tips on how you can improve the level of writing that your kids are having at the moment, and you feel like you're struggling, you're teaching a lot, you're giving a lot of lessons, but they somehow cannot write. So understand this thing. First of all, put yourself in the shoes of your learner. Imagine that you are a learner and you can't write. Like, you need to do your critical thinking. This is where your critical thinking as a teacher comes in, that if your learner cannot write anything, it means you have to go back to the basics. And you also need to make sure before the term starts or before teaching them anything, of course you really need to know where they are. So then you can then plan your lessons accordingly. But if you are just planning lessons just thinking that, oh, I am at this grade level and this is the material and this is what I have to teach, you really don't know what they need. You will only get to know what they really need after 2 to 3 weeks or even 4 weeks would pass. Okay, then only you would get to know exactly what they need, and by then it's too late. So diagnose them in the beginning, and then later, let's say if you didn't diagnose them, but still through teaching them and seeing how they are producing or what they are writing or what they are not able to produce, you assessed, your mind is assessing and taking mental notes. So then you really need to go back to the basics, because they struggle with even constructing basic sentences. As a teacher of that subject, as somebody who has expertise in that subject, okay, who understands their subject really well, you know this thing very well. All the teachers who are good teachers, who have their understanding of their own subject knowledge, they have studied the standards and they have mastered their own subject, they know this very well, that the basic form of writing, especially in the formative years, is what kind of writing it is. It is descriptive writing. And even then, in descriptive writing, first you do it at the basic level by just using visuals and making them to describe it by using simple sentences. And this is what is done mostly in the formative years. Also you will understand this thing better, that when you go into classrooms or when you go into classes that are in their earlier years of education, you will see that their environment is full of visuals. It's full of different visuals, and these visuals are firing up their imagination, because writing is all about ideas. So if your environment is blank, if the environment of your learners is blank, has zero visuals, this is also one of the factors why they struggle to have ideas. Especially kids, especially young learners in their formative years, in their earlier years, which doesn't mean that I'm just talking about the foundation years or the KG. No, it also includes grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. These are all grade 4, grade 5. These are all formative years of education, where the basic skills are built, and those same skills keep on getting, because starting from the formative years up until grade 12, the skills remain the same, but they keep on getting more complex. And you will understand this when you read all the standards of all these different ages. So in writing, of course, if your learner cannot write, you understand this thing, that you now need to plan your lesson in such a way that you have to teach exactly what they need, which means they need you to teach them how to even construct the sentences. And even before that, you would have to fire up their imagination, train them to think of ideas. So which means you will then have to incorporate this thing of training them to think of ideas in then all different lessons. And this is actually a normal way. All the lessons should in some way help them to think of ideas. And then when they have ideas, of course, they can then step up their game of writing. When they have ideas, they can write about it. So you need to start with descriptive writing. Every teacher knows this thing. Every teacher who has expertise in her subject knows this thing very well, that descriptive writing is the basic form of writing. And even in descriptive writing, You will have to still go to even the basics in descriptive writing, which means you can't directly start teaching them creating paragraphs or working on that 3 paragraph structure of descriptive writing, or teaching them directly what is a body paragraph, teaching them directly how to hook in the intro, or what is the conclusion. No, you will have to really go back to the basics, because now you have this learner, and you can't afford to waste that learner's whole academic year just because they can't write. If they can't write, means they need intervention from you on that basic level. So your whole lesson will be then planned on idea of trying to give them intervention where their mind really requires intervention. They want you to teach them how to create basic sentences, how to create simple sentences, which means you will be doing descriptive writing. Any standards related to formative years are asking kids to do a lot of descriptive writing. So when you'll go back to the basics, you will even have to start with visuals, description, changing visuals related to different subjects. Sometimes using visuals of animals, let's describe. Using visuals of foods, let's describe. Using visuals of objects, let's describe. When they get better at doing this, when, let's say, this kind of strategy was not applied at the right time in the formative years, somehow they couldn't master it, somehow the kid is new to the curriculum, and the kid in the previous school didn't learn in the kind of curriculum or in the kind of teaching system where the kid didn't go through this practice. So then this kid comes to your school and he is with you, so he would be needing intervention. So you would have to either give him tasks in such a way where he has to just describe animals, describe different foods, or do descriptive writing. So once he starts creating sentences, and once his mind is getting trained to this thing that, oh, there is a visual, there is an idea, I have to talk about it, there is a visual, there is idea, okay, let me talk about this one. So you are in a way training them for idea writing, visualizing writing. So when they get better at it, you can step it up a little bit more by teaching them how to create paragraphs. Separating my intro, putting all those things that you wrote first as separate sentences, put them all together now as paragraphs. Now let's end our paragraph with a conclusion sentence. Okay, so this is how you step up the game of writing. But if you think, oh, maybe let me teach something new, let me do opinion writing with them, or let me do persuasive writing with them, let me do argumentative writing with them, or let me teach them how what is author's purpose in the writing. You can't keep on changing, you can't keep on using different kinds of writings when your learners are not even, they can't work at even the basic descriptive writing. You can't, because descriptive writing is the basis of all other kinds of writings that they will have to do in the years that follow. Formative years are the ones where they do a lot of descriptive writing. Even the kids who are in KG, when they are using visuals to write sentences about it, they are doing a lot of descriptive writing. That's why in formative years, the classrooms, the learning environments are full of visuals, because that's where the kids are picking a lot. That's where your imagination is like firing up. You are looking, you're observing unconsciously. Unconsciously, you're picking up all the ideas that you see around yourself, and your mind is full of ideas. Then they can write using ideas, because their mind is getting trained to, use visuals, use ideas from everywhere, use ideas from the environment. So I hope it will help you to understand that when your learner is struggling to write, don't keep pushing them to write on that same grade level. No, take them to the basics. Practice a lot of descriptive writing with them, and especially in all grades actually. In all grades, there are standards for descriptive writing. So all grades have to actually first work in the first few weeks. It's all about descriptive writing. Let's say term 1 has passed and you got a new learner in term 2. So he has not gone through that phase of practicing descriptive writing. And that learner is from a different curriculum where writings were not practiced well. So then, of course, you have to give them tasks and you have to give them quick teaching separately as an intervention for them to keep getting better at writing simple sentences. Once they are writing simple sentences, once their mind is able to connect the visual with their writing, it's also important, you need to understand, you don't have to tell them, okay, this is the visual, okay, no, their mind will be getting used to it when you are consistently giving them visual. Consistently they are required to write about it, but you also first model it for them. Even you will have to model these basic things, how, with which word the sentence starts, where exactly with the margin line sentence starts, how to start it with a capital letter, how to end it with a full stop, and it doesn't matter at which grade level they are, but the learner is at that level. So as a good teacher, if you have been through tougher curriculums that work according to standard, you really know that you have to provide intervention at the level where the learner is. So what does it mean? You will be going back to the basics. You will be going back to the basics, and you will be designing their tasks and their learning as an intervention. You are trying to intervene, and you are trying to provide support and help exactly where the learner needs it. You won't be pushing them to write opinion essay. You won't be pushing them to do persuasive writing, because you understand, you know, this is not their level right now. They even need help to even understand that there is an idea and we have to write about it, which means they haven't practiced it well even in the formative years. They don't even know how to construct sentence. So their learning has to be designed around that concept, around that thing where you will be teaching them how to even construct a sentence, how to use that little visual and how to use that little idea to write about it. So I hope it will help you to understand that when writers don't write, there is a reason why they don't write. And we have to help them get better and catch up with other learners by fulfilling the need that they have. And their need is that, like, literally their work is screaming, the teacher, I need help on constructing sentences. Teacher, I need help on how to start the sentence. Teacher, I need help on thinking of ideas so I can write about the ideas. So all of these things literally tell you that you need to help them to learn how to write a sentence. You need to help them to look at the visual, to observe the visual and describe it. Remember, if you are a teacher and you are watching this video and you haven't, this is, let's say, maybe your first year of teaching, and you haven't worked in a school where standards really had to be followed, or you just didn't have enough practice of teaching how to write, understand this thing, that all of your learners are not going to be at the same level. Okay, and descriptive writing is the basic form of writing that's going to help in all other writings that the learners have to work on in the years to come. And even in the same grade, there will be different kinds of writings, but descriptive is always the basis where they start working at any grade level. Okay, so help your learners. First, diagnose them. When you do diagnostic assessment, diagnose them on descriptive writing. Descriptive writing in itself will let you know how well your writers are in writing. Some writers might be just writing sentence in the way of just sentences, separate sentences, but your advanced learners in that diagnostic assessment might be creating paragraphs. So even then you will be able to differentiate, and you will be able to know, yeah, that some of my learners are still in that phase of where they need help, and they need their tasks to be built in a way where they have to write in sentences. Okay, so don't treat all of your learners in the same way. Try to put yourself in the shoes of your learners, so you can really do your critical thinking that, yeah, this learner cannot do this learner needs help in that, so I need to prepare my tasks, prepare my lesson according to the need that my learner has. Writing is a skill, and it is one of the most toughest or difficult skill to master. But if you practice this skill in a right way, consistently with your kids, keeping in mind their need, the level at which they are, and the help that they really need from you, if you keep all these things in your mind and you teach it the right way and you teach it consistently, only then it will become a skill. This also is a very important point. If you just take it as a one-time task and you think that, let's say I am teaching grade 6, oh, there is argumentative writing. The standard is asking to teach argumentative writing. Okay, let me go to my class, let me prepare my lesson for argumentative writing, and I have given one lesson on argumentative writing and done. No, this is very teacher-centered way of thinking. If you're just thinking that this is the standard, okay, I will teach this, then it's like you are just doing your work, you're just completing your work, but like it's like a block, like there is a block between you and the learner. So you need to, remove this block and really see, really observe, use your critical thinking and really observe what your learner needs. And also understand that this skill that they are supposed to master towards the end of the year will really become a skill when you consistently practice it every week. Okay, so if you just did it, let's say in the duration of, let's say, 10 to 11 weeks, you just taught it one time, and that one time task, and you just saw, okay, you got whatever they did. They either performed well on it, or either they didn't do well on it, but for you it's just done. So it's not, that's why it's not becoming a skill. It will only become a skill when you are consistently teaching it according to their needs. Some of your learners will be able to create paragraphs, so you are still doing descriptive writing with them, but you are giving them the criteria of three paragraph structure, where you have to show me a good intro, you have to show me a body paragraph full of descriptions where there are adjectives, and you have to give me a conclusion sentence. But with the other learners who are not at that level, and let's say they came new to your curriculum and they are not familiar at all with how to even write, and this happened with me actually. The kids who were coming new to the curriculum had zero idea on how to even read or write, because they came from a different curriculum where the right strategies were not applied at the right time. So of course they struggled, but still at the same time I had learners who were performing. They were advanced learners, so I had to keep their tasks on their level, but at the same time the new learners that I had got, I had to keep their tasks at their level, where they will be constructing sentences using the visuals, which is the very basic. So I had to go back to the basics, because they needed it. Those learners needed it. They needed support. So it's almost, in a way, you are providing like an in-class intervention, through the lesson that they really need. Okay, and that's also one of the things that I also want to mention here, is that when we are doing interventions, like separate interventions where we are pulling out students, we don't have to do separate interventions either in grammar or even in writing. The only intervention that the subject of ELA or English really needs, that our learners really need, is intervention in reading. When our learners get better at this skill, there is no other skill that they can't master. There is no, even writing will become more smooth and more fluent. So when it comes to your struggling writers, make sure that you are teaching them according to their need, and you are actually practicing it consistently with them. And don't do this thing that, oh, I have taught them the basic writing once and that's it, now let me move on to that grade level writing, and then every other week you are doing opinion writing with them, persuasive writing, argumentative writing with them, or more difficult kinds of writings where they have to do expository kind of writing, where they have to compare and contrast between two different things. Like, don't go for such difficult writings when some of your learners, or when, let's say, most of your learners are just at the basic level. You teach them what they need. As a teacher very well, you have your subject knowledge, and you understand that the standards ask for descriptive writing, and then the standards slowly move towards narrative, and then they move towards argumentative opinion writing. So the standards also are written in such a way where they move from basic to more complex, right? So when your learner cannot work on basic sentences, of course you have to go back to the basics, work on their skill of descriptive writing, work on even because you really don't know from which curriculum they are coming. Was their learning environment full of visuals or not? So you will then have to provide visuals in tasks for them. You will have to give them visuals in their writing to help with their imagination, even to help with their mind to be thinking of ideas even. So after a few weeks, their mind is naturally connecting the visual to writing, the idea to writing. So I hope it would help you to get some tips to really help your struggling writers. Thank you so much.